Hi, everybody. It's me, Sammy Gardner here. I'm a career specialist and the founder of Career Kickstart Academy. And I'm super excited for this webinar to begin. I have us going live. I do have the chat box open, so I am just going to see if we can. Okay, it looks like I'm going live on the website too. If you are watching, there is the chat box that is on the page. You can ask me questions there. Keep in mind, I'm going to answer questions at the end. So you can drop your questions in, and even if you have to run before the end of the presentation, you'll still be able to watch this video later on. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Like I said, I'm Sammy Gardner. I'm a longtime career specialist. I've worked at nonprofits, tech boot camps, colleges, helping professionals just like you be able to design their dream careers. Now, in this webinar, From Unknown to Hired, 3 Steps to Attract Recruiters on LinkedIn, you're going to learn how to make your LinkedIn profile irresistible to recruiters. 2, how tech professionals, virtual assistants, sales professionals, lawyers, recruiters, and ambitious professionals on the rise can increase their profile traffic more than 50% in the first month, and how to create a professional brand that makes your ideal company not just fall in love with you, but want to pay you top dollar because they are so interested in working with you specifically. Now, that is going to be the subject matter of our webinar today. So if you're with me, you can leave a, shout out down in the chat box. I know that we have Anja, we got in Hamburg, we got Tina in Tennessee, and we got some other folks filtering in. So just to let you guys know, as I see comments pop up, I will answer all questions at the end. So it looks like all of my tech is going great. One thing that I didn't anticipate was daylight savings time. I don't think about this because I'm originally from Arizona State in the US, and we don't do daylight savings time. So the concept that daylight savings time happened, I'm not native to it. So I'm going to actually do this webinar starting now, and then I'm going to do another one in an hour as well, since my invitations, some people are getting some different things. So if don't worry, you're going to be able to see the whole thing. Now, I've had some coffee. I hope you have coffee. And now, since I am not a fan of the long extended intro to a webinar, let's get this show on the road. It looks like my tech is going well. One last check. Sweet, it looks like we all good. Now, let's start this off. Now, this is From Unknown to Hired, 3 Steps to Attract Recruiters on LinkedIn. And now for this webinar, you guys are in for a treat, because if there's one thing that I'm going to tell you that really makes a job hunt, a lot more intuitive, it makes it easier for you, is knowing what you want. So that's why whenever you're going to see a webinar from me or presentation, it really goes back to what you want. Now let's open this up and begin. So, hi everybody. If you're just jumping in, I'm Sammy Gardner, and I am the founder of Career Kickstart Academy. This is From Unknown to Hired, 3 Steps to Attract Recruiters on LinkedIn. So welcome to the webinar. If you want to know more about Career Kickstart Academy, you can go to careerkickstartacademy.com. And now, if you want to go quickly, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And that is one of the biggest benefits of using LinkedIn, is the fact that you can get that quality networking action. You can engage with connections. You can, even start networking in faraway places. But you have to know how to utilize LinkedIn. And most of the time, people don't. They're not utilizing it to their fullest potential. So with LinkedIn, I feel like everybody has an account, but not everybody knows how to use it. Now, I'm going to get into that, but just to let you know about the webinar, we're going to talk about how to be recession-proof. We're going to talk about professional brand building. We're going to talk about how to leverage your LinkedIn profile to stand out in your industry. And every tactic that I'm going to talk about is something that you can use starting today. In fact, I encourage you, while this webinar is going on, to actually open up another browser that has your LinkedIn profile in it and make improvements as we go. So many people get so much information when it comes to job hunting, career building, but they don't take the time to implement it, and that is where they can fail. And when you are thinking about your own career and what this webinar, can do for you, let me tell you who this webinar is for. This webinar is for tech professionals, virtual assistants, sales professionals, and ambitious professionals on the rise. Warning, this is not the webinar for people who aren't ready to put in the work to upgrade their work. That is one thing that not everybody gets in today's job market. You got to be a little hungry for it. You have to go for it. Now I'm checking back in, and it looks like we have some more people who are popping on. Hello, Janine. Hey, everybody who has popped on to the webinar, just to let you know, you can ask questions at the end. Well, you can ask questions during, and then I'll answer them at the end, of course. So you can keep asking your questions. I am going to carry on. So let me share my screen again. So we're doing that. So like I said, this webinar is for ambitious tech professionals, virtual assistants, sales professionals, and pretty much anybody who's an ambitious professional on the rise. Now, with any professional branding, job hunting, or really just trying to achieve anything in general, you have to be able to put in the work to get the result. There's just no other way that really anything works, whether it's, weight loss, writing that novel, doing a 5K, finding a new job. You have to put in the work to get the results. And now a little bit more about me. I'm Sammy Gardner. I consider myself a career stagnation stopper. I'm a former librarian and current world traveler. I inspire artistic, techie, and socially and globally conscious types to craft their career and businesses on their own terms. I'm the founder of the Career Kickstart Academy, and I'm also the host of the Career Kickstart podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes. I believe that you can be uniquely professional and still be uniquely you. That's why I always say I'm not your grandma's career coach. I am a career coach for people who are in 2018 and they are here to crush it in the job market. I have been a LinkedIn junkie since I started career coaching years ago because I made it work for my clients, and then I made it work for my business. I've gotten speaking opportunities, grown my visibility, and connected to clients and jobs through growing my network, posting valuable content as well. I've taught hundreds of job seekers how to get noticed by the right people on LinkedIn, and I can help you too. For me, my career why has always been helping people. It is about economic empowerment. And that is really the core of what I do and why I do it. And that is why I believe this information is so important. Because if you have control over your career, if you are empowered to design your career, to develop it, to take it where you want to go, that means that you can do that at any time in your life. It doesn't matter if one job fails or there's a merger or an acquisition or, a buyout. It doesn't matter because you have already taken the steps to, make yourself recession proof. You're already doing your personal branding. You're thinking like a freelancer. And that's really how you thrive in this brave new job market. And now enough about me. let's move on. Let's talk about LinkedIn in a nutshell. LinkedIn has more active users than Twitter. It's the largest social media network for professionals in the world, and it's more than a resume site. I know that for some people, they get really hung up on what they think LinkedIn is, and it stops them from really utilizing LinkedIn to the fullest. Now, when you're thinking about LinkedIn, don't think of it as a place where, I don't know, I think a lot of people think of LinkedIn as maybe like a stuffy cocktail mixer at a professional conference. It really doesn't need to be like that, especially depending on your industry. Now, if you are in tech, LinkedIn is a great place for you to network, meet more people, and you'll see that it can be a lot more casual depending on your industry, which can be fantastic. But it's also a place where you can be known and you can share your wisdom. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that. But when we're talking about how to attract recruiters, because that's what we're all here for. We want to attract recruiters. We want to get ourselves out of the slush pile. We don't want to be stuck in an applicant tracking system, hoping beyond hope that somebody actually notices us. No, we want to get ahead of that. We want to be known in our industry. We want to thrive. We want to know that every time there's going to be someone who's ready to snatch us up and take us to the next company. So let's talk about the necessary steps to attracting a recruiter. One, you have to create an optimized profile, and that is trickier than you think. I know this because I've worked with so many job seekers and I've seen so many LinkedIn profiles that are just wasting the space. So we're going to talk about how to create an optimized LinkedIn profile. We're also going to talk about how you can engage with your connections, because so many people go onto LinkedIn with a handout and they don't think about what they can do to give back, how they can be sort of a good citizen in that community, and how they can really not just like improve their career, but meet people who will improve their life. That's one of the things that people don't realize about career development, that it's that if you love your career and you want to build it, you're going to want to meet the like-minded people who also have the same passion for that career field as well. So that's why you're going to want to engage and share with your connections. The next thing is that you need to take it the step farther and share your talents and knowledge. If you have the most optimized LinkedIn profile in the world, but you only have a couple connections and you're not doing anything there, then it's not going to help you as much as you really think. So that's why that third step, sharing your talents and knowledge, is so important. And now let's talk about creating an optimized profile. And now, like I said before, so much of what I do goes into figuring out your why, what you want, your talents, your interests, your drive, your passions. So many people make the mistake of not thinking about what they want. So they keep going from lackluster job to job they hate, to lackluster job to job they hate, and they do this cycle over and over again. And I see this so often with job seekers. They say, I'll take anything. But it's often like when you go to lunch with some friends and nobody can decide what they want. So you keep making suggestions to the person who said, I'll eat anything. And they say no to every suggestion. That is oftentimes what happens with job seekers, is that people say they'll go for anything, then they start applying. Maybe they'll get an interview or two with a company that they don't want to work for. So you really got to think about who you are, because creating your brand starts with knowing what you stand for, what you want to be known for. So if you have a pen and paper, right now is a good time to list your values and career non-negotiables. Now, for values, that could be anywhere from environmentalism to social justice. It could be family. It could be work-life balance. Like, think about those values that you want in a company. Do you want to work for a company that helps the world? Do you want to work for a company that's making the world a better place? Do you want to work for a company that allows you to have decent benefits and time off and, time to see your family? List those things. Like, what is a non-negotiable? Do you need to stay in a certain area? Do you need to make a certain amount of money? Like, what is a non-negotiable? When people don't filter out what they don't want, they don't figure out what they actually do. And if you don't know what you want, it's hard for you to spot opportunities to get it. They have done studies on luck, which have shown that luck isn't a magical thing. It's almost like you have to train your eye. So when you're thinking about the job hunt, think about how you're training your eye. If you think of yourself as lucky, then you're always going to see opportunities. The opposite, if you don't think you're lucky, you won't see those opportunities. And that is something that they've shown in studies. And that's why you have to think about how you're going to engineer your own luck. And that starts with knowing what you want, because you can't have an eye out for it if you don't know what you want. The next thing to know is that your profile is the foundation of any LinkedIn strategy. So that starts from the search engine optimization keywords that you're going to use. That's going to go where you're going to put that in your summary. You're going to put that in your job description, your headline. You're going to want to make sure that the top of your LinkedIn profile, because this is one of the most important things. The top of your LinkedIn profile is going to be where, if you don't grab them there, you're not going to grab them. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, check on the questions, and then I want to show you guys a little bit more about LinkedIn and give you guys just a walkthrough on a profile. Looks like we got some good. We don't have any questions just yet, but it looks like we still got some people going on. So if you do have a question, you can ask and I will answer at the end. So I'm going to open up my profile and give you guys some tips on how to optimize yours. So let's get this going. Okay, so right now I am sharing my profile. And now when I was talking about your summary, keywords, where you're going to want to jam that full is in this top area of your profile. Because like I said before, if you don't get them here, they're not going to scroll down and see all the rest of the stuff. A lot of people make this top area and they just don't do anything with it. They don't add a banner. They don't put connection, contact information, their portfolio. They don't even put a headline that really says what they do. So for you, you're going to have to think about yourself think of yourself as a freelancer and think about your LinkedIn as almost a sales page, and the product is you. So you're going to want to catch people. So for me, I have a banner that shows me engaging with some groovy millennial types, because that is the audience that I serve. My headline has a call to, kind of like a call to action, letting people know that I'm a career coach working with tech professionals on designing a career on their terms, because that's important to me. And I also have the keywords job search strategy, resume, and LinkedIn writing, because that's what actively people are searching for. I know this because when you go into your dashboard, this thing right here, you can see what people are actually searching you for. And now, when I was telling you about your summary, which is right here, it's this bio right here. People call it the bio area. It can be, but that is also a place that's better off used to sell your experience, to market yourself. I've noticed working internationally that a lot of my European clients are not as comfortable with that idea. I will say that in 2018, it's kind of every man for himself. So nobody is going to pick you up and just hand you a job. There's too much competition. So you're going to have to really think about who you are and what you can offer and how comfortable you can get with really articulating that value, because so many people don't. They come hat in hand, very, very humble. But the thing is, when you're downplaying your skills, there's somebody else who's going to upplay them, their own, that is. So you're going to want to make sure on your summary that you talk about your experience. For mine, I have mine that goes more into me addressing my ideal client. But you can see I have keywords on here: resume, cover letter, interview confidence, job market, career strategies. You're going to think about the keywords that you need to put into your summary. Because when I say that LinkedIn wants their profiles to be search engine optimized, that's very true. There are recruiters who are using Boolean search strings to find people. So they're doing stuff like Ruby and, Tucson and web dev developer. And that's how they're searching for people's. Like, look at that. That's literally how they're searching for people. So think about your industry and your skills. Do you have those on there? If somebody was going to search for your area, your skill set, and your job title, are they going to find you? That's the thing, is that a lot of people don't think about how they look in search results. So as you can see, when you pop up in a search result, it has your name, it says what degree of connection you are, and it has your job title, area, and what you did either past or present. So you're going to want to make sure when this search result comes up, people are going to stop. If your ideal connection is a recruiter that's looking for a web developer in Sydney that can do, JavaScript, then you're going to want to add that. Sydney-based web developer, experience in JavaScript. Think about exactly what you want to be known for and how they can find you. So, and also search yourself. Make sure that your results look good. Does your picture look right? Are you giving off the right impression? That is super important. Now, you might have noticed that I have this funny little bar right here. This is not, with this little man with a mustache, that is not standard in LinkedIn. I have a third-party tool that helps me manage my LinkedIn. So that's actually something called Leonard. I do recommend it, but not for job seekers, only for freelancers and entrepreneurs. So when we go back to your profile, we have talked about the summary, the headline, and why this top area is important. Now let's talk about the media that you can add. You can add pictures, slides, PowerPoints, video, no audio yet, but you can add these different media to your summary, and you can also add them to specific jobs. I recommend doing that because, one, it helps people. I recommend job seekers add their resume to this, which some people are like, but your LinkedIn's already a resume. Well, if you are being actively headhunted, if you make it difficult to find out exactly what you can do, because that's the thing, most people's resume don't look anything like their LinkedIn. I'm not sure why, but that's the case. So if you haven't updated your LinkedIn yet, or it has a whole lot of random stuff on it, and you're transitioning into a field like, let's say, UX design, then you want to have a UX resume on your page. Clear off the phone numbers and serial numbers or whatever the deal is. Don't make it too personal, but add that. So that makes it easier for recruiters to find you, for people to vet you, for even friends to refer you. I tell people one of the reasons that your LinkedIn should always be up to date, it's not just that there's recruiters out there, it's also that you have friends and colleagues who might want to recommend you, but if they look at your LinkedIn and it's a mess, then they can't help you. They're not going to want to pass you along to that buddy who has the job lead, because your profile might look a little embarrassing, or it doesn't say what you can do, and it's not going to put them in a best light for recommending you. So make sure you have your media on here, I recommend things that someone would need if they're going to vet you or refer you. Put your resume, your portfolio, things like that. And then your job experience. So many people ignore this area. For whatever reason, they just don't do much with their jobs. Even though what you have done before has like one of the most direct correlations with what you'll do in the future and how much money you can make. So you want to make sure that you are filling out this description. For me, since I am a freelancer, I use my job descriptions as also a place to not just talk about my experience and things like that, but also to refer people to my freelance business. So for this one, since I've been consulting with Career Foundry for nearly 2 years now, I have a little bit about Career Foundry, and then it goes back into my company, and then I talk a little bit more about my position notes. So I put bullet notes right here because I want this to pop. So I have a mix of paragraphs. I have a mix of bullet points. These really are all about the notes that I put on positions are not duties or responsibilities. For the most part, I try to use really I try to write descriptions that have some sort of quantified information. Like this talks about the career change curriculum that I wrote, which was nearly 40,000 words. Talked about the coaching calls that I do, how many students I can handle, in one group, sort of thing. And then I also add media. For this, I put testimonials from students. I did a screen cap from down here because people generally don't go down to the recommendations. So I take a screen cap and I pull them up so people can see exactly what I've done and why people like working with me. I have a little bit about my business. It also has a call to action, tell people to message me, add media there. Adding media to every job description, you don't always have to add 2 or 3 or anything like that, but it does draw the eye. And these are also places where you can keep adding keywords. That is so important. You can use every space of this page to make yourself more search engine optimized, more interesting, add demonstration of your skills, because that's where it's going nowadays. Demonstration of skills. I even add media for my education, which once you're out of school for a while, and as you can see, oh my God, it's been 4 years. I just noticed that. It's been 4 years since I graduated with my master's. Anyway, since it's been that long, education's not as important. So I have my education and my volunteer experience down here. I haven't done as much with it because, as you can see, I've been in my career for a while. So volunteering and education is not as important. And then once you get a master's degree, it's kind of like that's end game for education. But as you can see, just to recap, talking about your portfolio or talking about your profile and what makes it optimized, eye-catching, and able to attract recruiters. You're going to want to have keywords filtered through from the headline all the way down to job descriptions. You're going to want to, make sure that your summary is really articulating your value. You're going to want to add media. There's also more things that you can do, like you can make your URL very specific, so you can make a unique one. You click that button, add a public profile and URL right there. There's also a place when you go into jobs. When you click here, you can actually tailor what you're looking for in your job search. You can update your career interests right here. And that's a place where you can actually when you hit update career interests, you can actually let recruiters know that you're open. I'm not currently open, so I have mine off, but you can turn yours on. So this is something where where you can't be public about your job hunting, this is where you can do it. I have a lot of people who tell me, but what if, sorry, I had a stupid notification come up. But I have a lot of people who ask me, but what if I have a boss or coworkers who will notice that I'm updating my LinkedIn? My secret for that is you kind of got to update your LinkedIn all the time, to be honest. If it's out of character for you to be updating LinkedIn or posting to LinkedIn, that's a bad habit to get into. If you are any sort of white collar professional and you're not updating your LinkedIn or at least logging in once a month, you are making a mistake. And that mistake will bite you in the butt, I'm sorry to say, once you get laid off, or if you have a budget cut situation, or anything that leads to being made redundant. Half of the work I do is actually working with people who have to kickstart their career again. That's why I call it Career Kickstart Academy, because I know a lot of people who, once they get that professional position, maybe that first one or their second one, they kind of like are like, well, I'm done with this. And then maybe 5 years later, something happens and they have no web presence, they have no updated portfolio. They're kind of a babe in the woods and they have to restart everything. Don't be that person. In fact, part of the reason why I tell people to log in, at least post once a month on LinkedIn, is because on the recruiter point of view of LinkedIn, they actually have a LinkedIn feature that's all for recruiters, and their search engine for the recruiters on LinkedIn actually has a place where you can filter out people who haven't been active. So if they've been active in the last month, the last 3 months, or the last 6 months. Recruiters want to hire people they want to contact people who will email them. They don't want to we'll get back to them. They don't want to send out messages to people who aren't going to check their profile in 6 months. So they're going to go for the people who have updated this month. You will miss out on that if you aren't updating your profile. You will not be seen as a hot lead. If your profile looks like it has too many privacy settings on it and they can't see your picture, they're going to assume that it's abandoned. A lot of times people want recruiters to reach out to them on LinkedIn, but they're pretty much giving the sign that nobody's home. It's like you're not going to get trick-or-treaters on Halloween if your porch light is off, your curtains are closed, and you don't have decorations up. But that's how a lot of people wander onto LinkedIn, and they kind of don't do anything to get engagement, and then they get sad that they didn't get the engagement. So don't be that person. So that is a little bit about the profile and what you need to do to attract recruiters and optimize your profile. Let's go back into the presentation. And now, like I said, consistent posting doesn't just help increase the amount of recruiters that can find you. Consistent posting actually increases traffic to your profile, because after people see maybe you have microblogged a comment about a current trend in tech, or you shared your portfolio, or you shared a client testimonial, those sort of things will increase your profile traffic. If you are appearing on other people's feeds, which as a connection, you will appear on their feed when you post, people are going to view your profile. If you're not doing that, then you're going to miss out on those people who might be curious, or you posting reminds them of you, and maybe they have a lead. The thing is that when you're engineering luck, a lot of that has to do with setting up a good foundation and making sure you're there to follow through. So you also have to optimize your profile, and your posting, you have to log in and make sure you're checking your messages. Keep in mind, if you're in sales or you're freelancing, your profile should have a very narrow focus on the ideal client or customer. You can check out my page to kind of see how I've created a summary that really talks more about the client than me. But that's what you got to do for sales pages, because it's not about you. Now, that is more about optimizing your profile and getting increased traffic. Let's talk about how you can start engaging. So what's the next step? So we've already talked about how you can increase your profile traffic more than 50%. Let's talk about how you create connection. Now, relationship building is the essence of LinkedIn. That is why people are here. LinkedIn is, in many ways, people boil it down to finding a job, making a sale, No, it's about building relationship, building connection, because that is truly how you succeed in this world is with the help of others in a society. No man is a island. So when you are, wanting to find that new job, networking is going to be key. That's how most people find their jobs. Studies have put it anywhere from 60 to 80% of people find their jobs through networking. So if you're not building relationships in your career, you're really not going to get far. Some people feel like this is unfair, that it's the who you know, but you can increase the people that you know. Like it's definitely something where you can create your own boys network if you want to. And it really starts with commenting on posts, sending personalized connection messages, introducing people to each other, invite local connections to coffee, even use LinkedIn to start an in-person meetup. You don't have to keep your connections on LinkedIn online. In fact, it's better to get them offline because when we make those offline connections, so often we can build those deeper connections. Now, what I would suggest when you're thinking about connecting on LinkedIn, don't think about what you get. What a lot of people do, and this is their first mistake, and then they end up getting sort of like disillusioned about LinkedIn, and they'll be like, oh, LinkedIn didn't help me. But when you go onto LinkedIn with a gimme, 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 gimme attitude, then people aren't going to be as giving. If you come to LinkedIn with the attitude of caring and sharing, growing, and providing a win-win for your connections, then that's how you rise. If the number one thing to understand about networking, building business connections, finding clients, whatever, collaborators, venture capital partners, whatever, is that you need to think about what is the win-win and making sure that everybody feels like they've won a little bit, because that's how people keep working with you. If people feel like they helped you out and then they got screwed over a little bit, they're not going to help you again. And the unfortunate thing is that people don't always remember the niceties, but they always remember when they feel something unjust has happened or unfair. Where they feel a little bit teed off or used. Now, for me, I have given many recommendations. Even on LinkedIn, I'm almost to 50 recommendations. When you think about the ones that are offline, I've done hundreds of them by this point. And I don't remember everyone that I've given a recommendation to off my head, but I remember every student who said that they wanted that asked for a recommendation and promised to recommend me in return and then did not. I remember all of them. And now I'm not alone with this. I have been on hiring committees and I've been in interviews and I've been on those sort of panels for hiring, and people don't forget those sort of negative experiences. I was on a hiring committee where a former student was actually coming back to the college I was working for to hire an intern. And they remembered that one student who applied for the intern had been a poor participant in group projects. And this was something that they just didn't forget, even though they had graduated, they'd been out of school for a year, now they're helping hire people. They did not forget that. And Tucson is a small town, so people remember things. So that was enough for that person to pretty much blackball the student going out for the internship. So really keep that in mind. You want people to feel good after they've worked with you. You want to make sure that you're keeping your promises, you're following through, and you're engaging. And you also have to be friendly and don't be afraid to make the first move. People put networking in this place where it's different from other human interaction, but it's really not. Most people just want connection. Most people want to help you out. Most people are decent, so don't come to networking expecting to be rejected don't come there looking for your own, how you can make the most advantage out of the situation. Come there ready to work and collaborate with your peers, because that's often who you're going to be connecting with, people who are peers in the industry. I will say that you're going to want to utilize the search engine to find local connections, local recruiters, hiring managers, and team leads. When we're talking about engaging with connections, we want you to engage with the right connections. Now, these need to be people that are actually going to be in your field. These are people that you want to work with, or you're going to work with, or you can learn from. There's no shame in connecting with influencers that maybe you don't know personally, but you do like their content. Those are some of the great people to learn from. And even just by commenting on their posts, that's kind of how you get to know people. You can also use groups to find new connections. Now, what I'm going to do is give you a quick tutorial on how to use the search bar here. Now, when you go to LinkedIn, I like clicking on the search bar and then clicking on the magnifying glass right here, because that brings you to this main search area. And LinkedIn kind of changed how their interface looked. You might remember the search bar used to be on the side. Now it's on the top. You click all filters. And then this is where you're going to be typing in titles like recruiter. And you're going to have the area. Let's put Tucson. And you're going to want to see who is in your first and second degree connections. And so the people that you can reach out to and connect with. You might want to put an industry. And let's see, there we go. So then hit apply. And that will show you the different recruiters in the area. You can do more to filter out the results to make the numbers smaller, but 40 is pretty good. You're going to want smaller numbers because that means better results. And that gives you right there, just doing that quick search. Now I have all the recruiters in Tucson that I want to look for. You can see where they're working, and you can think about, okay, who's going to be the best person for me to know? And you can do a search like that with pretty much anything that you want to look for, from designers to head of departments, CEOs, founders, etc., etc. Whenever you want to clear the filter, you hit that. But I suggest people to use the advanced filter. Sometimes people don't, unless you're really good with Boolean search strings. I would just go here first. So that's a little bit about that. Now let's go back to the presentation. I haven't checked the chat in a little bit, but if you do have questions, I will answer them at the end. So let's move to step 3, sharing your talents and your knowledge. Now, this is really going to have to depend on what you like, what you like to do, how you like to consume information, how you retain it, how you like to share it. Because you can become a content creator. You can write blogs, record video, record a podcast. That is one of the best ways, not just to learn the material in your field and keep up to date. That's another way for you to become known and expand your personal brand. LinkedIn is a great place to microblog, which is, under 300 words or something like that. You can write your industry musings. You can share relevant content. You can use a scheduler. The social media scheduler that I recommend the most is called Buffer. You can schedule a month's worth of posts in less than an hour. So when people say they don't have time to make social media work for them, it's just that they're not working smarter. There are the free version of Buffer, which is Buffer, gives you 10 scheduled posts a month. So that means you can do 2 or 3 scheduled posts on your LinkedIn in a month. And that's something that you can do, so you can just set it and forget it, but you're still putting your portfolio out there. You're still putting your blog out there. You're still sharing things in your industry. You're still tagging folks. And I really suggest Microblogging and sharing your talents for creative professionals or tech professionals or freelancers, because you need to demonstrate your work. That is the thing nowadays. Nowadays, is so much of our work is becoming more intellectualized. We need to be able to show what we can do, because back in the day, if you were a barrel maker, you just show someone the barrel that you made and they'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good barrel. Nowadays, when you're like a UX designer and you're like, doing the strategy for a company, you have to show what results you had. You need to show that your process. You just need to let people know what you do. You need to demonstrate it. And using a scheduler like Buffer is a great way to just set it up so you don't really have to think about sharing your portfolio pieces. They're already done. And now, when it comes to sharing your talents and your knowledge, it's not just that you have to microblog. You can do things in person. I know people who go to conferences to speak on panels. They do workshops in their local community, and that's a great way for them to network, because that's also a secondary benefit to sharing your talents and your knowledge, is that you are also, in a way, doing a bit of networking, because people see you, people can engage with you, and it's something that breaks the ice. I also suggest that you give back as well. One of the themes that in this presentation has been about being a giver and not a taker on LinkedIn. So to do that, you do that by mentoring, answering questions, and engaging with your peers. Being the person who will give some advice on somebody's portfolio. You want to be that person, because when you give, you get back. And that is doubly true for career development. And this is how these 3 steps, optimizing your portfolio, engaging with your connections, sharing your talents. This is how you create and spread a professional brand that makes your ideal company fall in love with you. This is how you do it. You need to showcase who you are so people can see. It's not the same thing. That old advice, if you build it, they will come. That ain't how it works. You need to show up and make them want to come to you. That's how that works. And with this 3 steps, a lot of the tools and the techniques that you've learned today, you can start working on right now. But if you want to know, what do you do after you implement the material in this workshop? The next step for you could be updating your LinkedIn profile with a new resume. I have 13 resumes that you can check out. Templates are easy to modify, that are definitely ATS able to go through, so applicant tracking system. And all those templates can be yours. You'll actually see in the page under the chat box where you can see my Power Pack template. So you can get those. You can also just engage with your connections more. Make it a point to maybe comment on a different person's post every other day. You can share your portfolio, any content you've done, or a timely industry article with your musings. You can also book a discovery call with me, because I do take one-on-one clients. I do this on a limited basis, so if you are interested in working with me, I still have availabilities in April, but I only have about 5 spots for new resume writing clients or new coaching clients. So if you want to book a discovery call with me and see more about what working with me is like, hop on that, because April is around the corner. Who would have thought? This month has gone by too fast. And that is the end of my presentation, from unknown to hired, 3 steps to attract recruiters on LinkedIn. And I'm going to stop sharing this and start looking at your comments and your questions. So if people are wondering, let's see. Ooh, we got some questions in here. Now, I believe that's Janine. How do I attract quality recruiters? As a class, I get frustrated with recruiters who reach out because they have quotas to meet, but I never hear back. I don't call with specific questions. They don't call with specific questions. It's because they're doing screens. Now, what I'm going to say is that you're going to need to be proactive. In the second step of this process is all about engaging with connections. And you also have to go find them. So what I would suggest is that you go onto LinkedIn and using the search tutorial that I shared in this webinar, you're going to want to tailor down the recruiters that are in your area and who are actually going for tech. A lot of times people like, yes, doing these techniques will get people to you, but you also want to go out and reach out to people, especially if they are locals. Too often people connect with recruiters who are far away, who might not ever hire them, but they don't connect to recruiters in their local area. And if you're not connected to local recruiters, you're not going to show up in their search results. So that's going to be how you get higher quality recruiters, is that you start connecting with them. Okay, Anja says, so the LinkedIn profile is where the details go, as the resume is only one page. Not much detail is wanted there, I guess. It depends on where you are. If you're writing a German CV, they want a bunch of information that I don't know why they want. Hobbies, nationality, all sorts of stuff. And it will depend on the industry. If you're in academia, academic CVs and resumes can be multiple pages. You can go into more detail on your LinkedIn, and I encourage you, especially if it's really relevant information to your field that you're going into now. For career changers, this is a little tricky. If you're going to stay in the same field forever, then you just kind of keep adding to your LinkedIn, you know, and it'll be like a scarf you keep knitting, you just keep adding more to it. But if you're career changing, you kind of have to curate what your LinkedIn has on it. You know, what's the most relevant? And then you're gonna have to rewrite your job description so you talk about the transferable skills. Like, let's say you're going from being a art teacher to a UX designer. You're gonna have to rewrite your art teaching descriptions to really focus on whatever could be a transferable skill to UX. And that's what a lot of people don't do with their LinkedIn or their resume. Your link and your resume don't need to be the same, but they need to have similar dates. They need to have like similar themes. A lot of people, they make these two different things and it makes HR people suspicious. So make sure that even when you are changing your resume, your LinkedIn, that there are enough similarities where it doesn't look like these are two separate documents. So let's see, do we have another question? Oh, you're welcome. Hi, Zahn. Okay, does anybody have any more questions? We have a little bit more time. I can field any more questions if people do have them. Thank you again for watching my presentation. I am very happy to have you all here. I will say that I do have, usually at this time in the webinar, I'm going to talk about, the email course I've created, which is called Unknown to Hired, 5 weeks to